Hey, I'm Ben Silverio.
And I'm Aaron Klein.
And I'm Ansel Birch, your host in post.
And it's time to party in space.
Silent finger guns.
We are not doctors and we don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly. This episode was recorded on February 27th, 2021. This is our special bonus episode, full of all the things that didn't make it into the regular categorized episodes. We hope you love it.
The movie that we're talking about today, Star Trek Generations.
Shall we?
Yeah.
All right, ready?
I'm going to try and participate in fewer tangents this time.
Okay.
Episode 4 is just going to be like an hour long. It's fine.
Like an hour's generous. I think it's going to be a lot longer than that.
Right? Welcome to Time to Party, where as long as everything's okay in the end, we're good.
Where everything's made up, and as long as the tracks are okay, it doesn't matter.
Ansel, I had a dream last night that former WWE champion Daniel Bryan was a big fan of your Twitter, and he shared it with AEW superstar Eddie Kingston for some reason, and they both started liking your Twitter.
What a specific
I don't know why.
That happens. I hope that happens in real life.
That's so specific, and also the idea that Brian and Eddie are good friends is for some reason like hilarious.
I bet you they
to
are.
me.
They're like indie bros, probably.
Another quick note about Star Trek and other things. I like how most of the cast of Cheers and Frasier have appeared on Star Trek also.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Savick, Lieutenant Savick, Kirstie Alley is a Klingon.
Kelsey Grammer, another captain that nobody liked very much.
I liked him.
Yeah, but you like Kelsey Grammer.
Lilith is an alien of some kind. I forgot what.
Oh, I forgot to ask when we were doing the last one. What's a Romulan? Is their blood green? That I
Do
was
you
confused by.
remember-
I'm just kind of willing to just let
Do
it
you
go.
remember Balance of Terror?
Which one was
That
that?
was the one we chose for
That's
the
the
best.
Shakespeare in Space.
Shakespeare in Space. Those were the Romulans. Remember how we learned that the Vulcans and the Romulans were
Oh.
like very, very similar?
Okay.
So that is a
That's
Romulan,
right, okay.
and because their physiology is similar to Vulcans, they also have green blood.
Okay, got
Klingons
it.
have purple blood.
Cool.
'Cause they wanted a PG-13 rating.
Somehow that made it okay.
Well,
That's
there
the
is a
rules.
lot of blood, but it's all like coagulated and like floating in space. But they made it like Ivan Ooze purple, and they were like,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, I listened to the Terminator one.
Yeah, she listens to our show.
Oh, yay.
Oh, thank you.
Why everyone is surprised by that. I am not an asshole.
We're not surprised, we're pleased. It's different.
Pleased. Typical
We've had some
Aaron.
reachers.
I did a deep dive on something
Yep.
that's a light connection. So we'll see how that goes.
I went through 4 different ones.
I just wanted to talk about horse girls.
I want to get irresponsibly inebriated and talk Star Trek with you sometimes.
It's great.
I like TNG. There are things I like about TNG. Riker's butt, Worf's butt, Troy's butt. These are things I like about TNG. It's just my problem with TNG, which is like gonna be most of my problem with this movie, is I hate Data.
I also
fucking
hate Data. Oh my!
Thank you,
I feel like I
Aaron.
was supposed to. We'll get into it. We will talk about this in the second episode, but like,
Yes.
I agree. And I don't think I was tainted by knowing that you didn't like him. I think I wanted to like him knowing that you didn't like him, and I was still like, nah, fuck this guy. Anyway,
For the record, I like Data, but this movie made me not like Data.
my husband Michael watched it with me and said the same thing. He was like, I like Data. He's one of my favorite characters, and I hate him in this. Like, cool, okay. I'm glad it's not just me.
Most TNG, I feel like a majority of TNG episodes, and then like honestly, like all the fucking TNG movies and Picard is like weirdly Data focused, and so it like bums me out a lot because even though there are tons of things I love about TNG, I just fundamentally don't like Data, so it's hard for me to get around that.
Don't you also dislike Brett Spiner, like as a person?
Well, yeah, because he's a fucking gross creep. But even outside of not liking Brett Spiner, Data still blows.
It's also fun for me. It was fun for me at the moment because I just finished a Gargoyles rewatch.
Gargoyles rules!
And-
Oh my god!
Yes.
Riker and Troy are and Worf. All three
And
of them
Worf.
are all over.
Brett Spiner is in it too. He's Puck.
Well,
But
you don't like
Janeway's
the
in it
Puck
also.
storylines.
Like, Janeway plays Titania. But like,
she is. Kate
Is-
Mulgrew
And
as
also-
Titania in any form tracks 100%.
Is Gargoyles just Midsummer Night's Dream? Do I just not remember that? Are all of the characters named that
it's
way?
like
No, but there's like a whole fairies thing that happens.
okay.
But there's like 3 different Shakespeare plays that are like mashed up into the Gargoyles. Like,
Okay. That is, I don't even remember that. I just remember that Gargoyles is cool. So it tracks that I, as a child, was like, yes, I'm into this.
That's like after doing that rewatch, watching Generations and just being like, Xanatos, you dick. I want to borrow from another one of your podcasts.
Which one?
Not Your Demographic.
Another podcast that me and Aaron host
Yes.
together.
It used to be about wrestling. Now it's mostly about books.
Yes. Fuck. I was going to say something else.
It was going to be real good.
It was going to be real good.
What merch are you wearing? Is that where you're going
Actually, I
with
did
this?
think about that, but
We don't do that anymore. But we can talk about Pledgy if you want.
Here on Time to Party, I usually throw in a Aaron, how are you spending your time? But in honor of Not Your Demographic, I wanted to say, hey, what did you finish reading? Because I want to talk about this fucking book right here.
Is this going in your 4th episode that has nothing to do with anything?
A lot of it's gonna.
It's probably gonna, yeah.
That book is so good. But also,
So
if Ansel hasn't read it, we can't actually talk about it because if you ever want to read that book, you really can't know the turn that happens.
100%.
Oh, okay. I haven't read it, and I would like to. Then
It's very good.
It is very good.
give us the like backsplash. Don't actually read the backsplash.
It's about 2 quote unquote woke white people who like weirdly manipulate a black woman in their life who is just like stuck in between their bullshit.
Oh, fun. Oh, by the way, we should say the title if we're recommending it to the
Right.
listeners.
Such a fun age.
Yes,
highly read.
I want to talk about Such a Fun Age because I read it after Aaron and Stella were talking about it and it sounded interesting. And then I started reading it and I was just like, oh my God, white people.
Yes.
I was like,
Me
I was
too.
fully sweating. Like, I was like, oh, Aaron, I can't do it. It's too much.
It's very intense. It's really good. I told Ben and Stella that when I started it, I got like 140 pages in and was like, okay, I like this. I'm interested in the characters, but I'm really confused about where it's going. And then it just like punches you in the face and then does not stop
Yep.
for like the rest of the entire book. It's wild. It's very good. The last line is so
Yeah,
good.
you really can't know the turn.
Oh, it's so good.
But I think I can talk about this without it being spoilery. So a good portion of the book takes place in Philadelphia. And one of the main characters is a transplant from New York City, even though they're from Pennsylvania. As someone from Philadelphia, I hate this character and her friends because they're the worst.
They're the worst people in the fucking world.
Oh my God. Like, they talk about the incident, like, at the beginning of the book, and they're like, oh, this would never happen in New York. And I'm like,
Yes,
bitch,
it would.
please. There's racist shit happening in New York all the fucking time.
Yep.
Also, New York City is not better than Philadelphia.
No.
Yeah, hot take. Hot take.
They're good for different things. It's like, that's the whole
Yes.
deal. You can't want New York and go to Philadelphia and expect it, and you can't want Philadelphia and go to New York. Like, they're totally
Right.
different places. They are
Totally
good
different.
for their own reasons.
And they're just those people that live in New York, like not even from New York, that just live in New York, that like think that they're far superior than everywhere else in the world.
They call themselves from New York. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're from Pennsylvania.
Right. No, it's like you're from Jersey, like more often.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I get it, you want to leave Jersey, but you don't have to be a dick.
Yeah, nobody wants to say they're from Jersey. Okay, so which books have Aaron and Stella read recently that you'd like to plug real quick?
The Office of Historical Corrections.
If we want to talk about Star Trek books, I haven't read the novelization of this movie, but there is a novelization of Star Trek Generations that does canon fix-its that I think are really great. because they never mention Uhura at all. And then they have like a whole cut scene where they talk about Uhura in the books. And there's also a scene with Chekhov and Guinan where Guinan's like, Kirk's not really dead. And Chekhov's like, I'm sorry, what? And I think that's a really, really fascinating thing about Star Trek and it having this huge, like canon, non-canon, is that most of the movies have novelizations. So if you're like, I like the movie, but I think it missed, there's stuff missing, you can go to the novelizations for that. And Generations is one that I haven't read, but now I want to because I want all of those cutscenes. But I have read the novelization of the J.J. Abrams 2009, and the book makes me feel a little bit better about certain things.
I'm going to check that out. I will put this in here, and I realize that this is treading into dangerous waters, but Star Wars does the same thing, and it's so worth it.
Yeah, I love reading the books.
Yeah,
especially because there's a bunch of some of the first Star Trek books ever were written by James Blish, who would just take episodes of Star Trek the original series and turn them into novels, and they're fantastic. And I love that the weird we mentioned this planet offhand and we never talked about it ever again gets delved into in the books. Also, shameless plug, not even shameless plug because I don't write these, but I personally love William Shatner's terrible Star Trek books, and I will talk about them at any chance. Shatner actually writes a series of books where Picard and Kirk are interacting and stuff again. So if you like that part about Generations and you're like, oh, it's so fun to see the captains interacting, you can go to William Shatner's books and read more about that.
Delightful.
Oh, there you go.
His books are not good, but I genuinely love them. We don't have to talk about Tech War,
that's kind of
but
William Shatner to a
Tech War
T.
is great.
Ridiculous.
I mean, William Shatner's talk singing is the same way. There's so much about William Shatner that's this is amazing. It's objectively bad, but it's amazing.
But also, is it objectively bad? Because the Transformed Man is actually quite good, and kind of if you think about the experimental music that was happening in the 70s, is actually really cool that he takes the weird psychedelic music and meshes it with his past as a classical actor, and I think it's actually good.
Wow.
I don't think I know that one. I'll have to go look for it.
Oh my god, it's so good. Have you never listened to The Transformed Man? He's really good.
I don't think so. Check it out.
William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy made music in the 70s that was questionable but enjoyable.
Questionable but enjoyable is my whole brand. That's for real.
Yep.
Aaron, I feel like you would really, really dig The Transformed Man. It's him doing his Sprechsanga talking, but reciting classical theater and then mashing it with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and shit. It is crazy. It's so
music
good.
for people on drugs is what you're saying. That's what that is.
Yeah, I mean, did you not hear the part where I say it was made in the 70s?
I would like it.
Yeah.
Wait, can we talk about one of my favorite things about Aaron right now? When I found out that Aaron made merch for a game show that is just on YouTube, for herself, I love that so much.
Okay, there was this really great show on YouTube called Watching Baggage, where the guys from John Boy Media, who normally do sports breakdowns and talk about baseball, watched this old Jerry Springer game show called Watching Baggage and did this commentary track on it. It was my favorite thing of 2020, and then Game Show Network made them take it down. They basically threatened to take their whole John Boy Media site down if they didn't take down this game show. But I had been checking their merch page for months, hoping that they would make a Watching Baggage shirt because I loved it so much. And so then when it got officially taken down, I had my own unlicensed merch made for Watching Baggage.
Just for herself.
I was like, I want this. I'm not going to sell it to anyone else. I'm not taking money out of your pocket. I really wanted to give you money, but you never made this merch. And so when I got delivered, I told my husband what I had done. And he was like, all right, well, you have to put it on and we have to send a photo to them. And immediately they responded, both of the guys that run the show, and were like, yes, this is sanctioned. It's great, cool. Thank you very much. If you can't buy the merch, make it yourself.
That's one of my favorite.
Just don't sell it, because then they'll be mad.
Right, I'm not trying to sell it. I just want it for me.
Rightly so.
Though, I mean, I guess that's Etsy's whole platform, which I bought this shirt.
Yeah, for real. I was going to say, I'm going to have to make the Walter Skinner merch I want in my life, because there's none available on the internet.
Yeah, we will. Daddy!
I did something similar for Johnny Gargano at NXT Philly. Because at the time, Johnny didn't have a lot of WWE merch, so I couldn't send him money that way. So I talked to a friend and I was just like, hey, what if we made a Johnny Wrestling shirt in the ECW letters because it's Philly? And she's like, great, I'll fucking do it. And we did it. And it was a lot of fun. And then we did it again for when Colt Cabana came to the ECW arena.
Of course he loved it. That's like his whole brand. Excitable, fun dude who gets excited when you send him cups with dicks that spell his name on them. Like, the dude loves weird bullshit.
And t-shirts.
And t-shirts.
He's like the t-shirt king of Chicago.
If you need a t-shirt in 1 hour, I hear he's the guy.
He's the t-shirt king of
That's
wrestling,
right.
essentially, at this point.
I
He
hear
looms
he's the
over our
guy.
city.
He is the guy.
I miss Colt Cabana. He's the best.
Warwick and I were just talking about how we miss Colt Cabana.
Sometimes I just think about Adam
my
Page
favorite.
and Colt Cabana kissing. It makes me happy.
So if you're playing the home game drinking version of Time to Party, that's 3 diversions. So you should be about 3 shots in already into the 15-minute episode.
I tried to bring it back around.
We did.
Okay,
It was
I tried to bring
valiant.
it back
It was
around.
valiant.
I think you did a great
Your
job.
host powers
All
are
right.
strong.
Okay, all right, we're See, host power strong.
See,
Did
yes.
you invite a real host
That's
on?
why we needed...
When I was watching it, I was like, I should ask Stella if there's like friendship fics of the two of them, because I don't want them to make out. I just wanted them to like go on an adventure together. They were so fun, Kirk and Picard.
Yeah, I don't see Picard as a sexual creature at all. They try and make him like flirt with people and stuff, and I don't buy it. I mean, I'm sure there is. I haven't really gone out of my way. I don't, unsurprisingly, read a lot of TNG
Shocking.
fic. The ones that I read are mostly Riker and Worf. Because I like their dynamic. Look, Troy and Riker are endgame. They are totally endgame, but I like the idea that both Troy and Riker have like a Worf stop off before they get to endgame.
Makes sense.
But so I haven't read, but I'm sure there are. And like I said, Shatner wrote all those books, and there are some other Trek books, I'm pretty sure, that deal with like the captains together. So maybe not necessarily like fic, but you know, there's books and stuff. And I'm sure there is, but you know, I'm not going out of my way to read Captain Picard fanfic.
There are
Sorry.
a lot of corners
for
of the
real.
internet, yeah.
Yeah, I could find some for you. Though, wouldn't you rather read like Kirk and Uhura's besties? 'Cause
Yeah, that's true.
That's
I
more
also
fun.
don't want them to kiss. I just want them to be
Yeah.
friends.
Are there...
Oh, but Kirk and Uhura fic is also.
Is there
good.
any fic where Geordi
But-
actually finds love? Like, I always feel bad for Geordi.
Nope. Jordy never
Never.
gets lucky, ever.
Okay, here's the thing. You want to get into this? First of all, Geordi doesn't deserve love. He is like a fucking incel in space and is gross. And he's really, really mean to Scotty, and he deserves when he gets punched in the face in this movie. When he gets punched, I was like, that's for being mean to Scotty. And then third, there is a ton of fic with Geordi and Data. Like, that's a
Duh.
big ship from TNG.
That seems really obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So
Unsurprising.
if you want Geordi to fuck Data, then that exists heavily for you. But also, like, Geordi is like a weird... Watching TNG is rough because, like, the first half of TNG, you're like, oh, I love Geordi. Oh, my God, he's great. And then, like, a really specific thing happens, and you're like, Geordi can burn in hell. We hate him. And then he's mean to Scotty, and you're like, wow, you do deserve, like, the deepest circle of hell.
Did I just, like, not watch that episode where the
I
mean
still
thing...
like Geordi,
or where the
yeah.
bad thing happened with Geordi? Like... Because I didn't watch all of TNG. I just watched what you guys told me to watch. So...
There is...
Oh, then you wouldn't have seen that one.
Yeah,
then.
there is a season where Geordi fully becomes, like, a weird incel.
Aw,
So
It's very tough to watch.
it's not great.
that's disappointing. I like Geordi.
He's a very cool character. He's got a lot of other good shit going on.
He
but
does,
yeah,
but it's hard for me to get
there's
over
a rough
that.
patch.
There's
There's a rough patch for
rough
sure.
patch. And then when you think you're over the rough patch, he's really mean to Scotty, and that is not okay with me.
Unacceptable.
So, unacceptable.
But he gets his comeuppance after being mean to Scotty, so I feel like that's...
You do not
He
be mean to
learns.
Scotty. You are not mean to Jimmy Doohan. It's not acceptable.
That's the blessed Jimmy Doohan, first of his name.
Bless.
Speaking of Jimmy Doohan, is there a drinking rule about
There
Jimmy
should be.
Doohan?
I do not have any.
I don't
drinking
have one for
rule
him
about.
either.
Take a shot for Jimmy Doohan, out of respect.
Yeah, you know what? I think take a respect
respect.
shot for Jimmy Doohan is a great rule.
Yes, he deserves it. Did he get a lot of recognition throughout his career as an actor?
I think just for this.
Just for this?
Yeah, I think just for this. Yeah.
But he like lived in it.
He does get recognition as being like a badass, though.
Mm-hmm.
He died in like early 2000s, like late 1990s, I think. He's been dead for a
Yeah,
while.
because it wasn't long after he was on that episode, I thought.
Yeah, Oh, yeah, you're right. He may have died in early 1990s. Because DeForest Kelley dies first, obviously, because he's old as hell. And then Jimmy Doohan dies. Pouring out for bones. I gave this clock to Bones. I love the idea that in the movie, Kirk is like going around the thing and like looking at things and be like, this is the past. And he's like, I gave this clock to Bones. And it's like, so you decided to go back to Starfleet and you're like, hey, Bones, I'm going back to Starfleet. Do you want this clock? What a weird line.
Oh, I'm wrong. Yeah, it was way after. He passed away in 2005. Yeah. And Generations was in 1997. So it felt soon, but it had not been.
Jimmy Doohan Fox.
Yes. R.I.P.
Yeah, him and Walter Koenig are in this movie because originally they wanted the triumvirate, obviously, because they were like, well, we're going to have 3. Well, originally they wanted everyone, and then they were like, that's not going to work. So then we'll just have 2 of them and Kirk. And they were like, well, we'll get Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley because, like, duh, triumvirate. But Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley were like, I don't know, man. We really liked how our characters like exited in Undiscovered Country. Like, we like that wrap-up story. And then Nimoy actually has, I found like him specifically talking about it because Berman wrote the script and Nimoy said, there's no Spock function in the script. I have always tried to make a contribution to these movies. There was no contribution to be made in that movie. It was just sort of a, let's get Nimoy here. And I said, there is nothing here I can do, so thanks, I'll pass. Which I think is such a baller move on Nimoy's, because like if you think about it, Nimoy was so like he made all these really fucking specific choices about Spock, and he was like, I'll be there if there's a reason for me to be here, but there's not, so get bent, which is like such a power move. And DeForest Kelley was like, I'm very old, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, we'll just get Jimmy Doohan and Walter Koenig to do it, which I think actually works really, really well because if you had the triumvirate, I feel like it would have pulled a lot of attention, and then you get like the attention pull from Kirk, but then you get these 2 like beloved characters who banter really, really well with Kirk in this, and like you get to see Sulu like proud of his friendship with Chekhov proud of his friendship with like Sulu, when you get to see Demora, and like I think it actually worked out for the best that it's Jimmy and Walter.
It's Koenig. A really good.
I would agree.
It's great.
I felt like it was the most I've liked Chekhov so far because he actually seemed like a charming person as opposed to like a creepy teenager.
Oh, wait until Voyage Home.
He's fun in Voyage Home.
Chekhov's finest hour. Yeah.
Is there a reason
Bones'
why
finest hour.
Nichelle
Thank you.
Nichols and Sulu? Oh my God, Takei. Is there a reason why those 2 didn't come back, or they were just like, oh, we'll scrap it?
Well, they had originally wanted everybody, and then they decided to just have 2, and they wanted the triumvirate, and then they didn't do that because they had already written all the lines, and Nimoy was like, these don't feel like Spock lines. These feel like literally anybody can say it lines, and he was right because they like gave the lines to the other characters. And I don't know, I really like the idea that they bring in Sulu through his like progeny, like in Demora, because it gives that good moment of like, especially knowing, spoiler, like Kirk's like son dies and stuff, and Kirk has always failed at like having it all, and Sulu's there being like, I'm a captain and I have a kid and I'm just killing it at life. I like that you see Demora there and just doing fine. I'm just Sulu, just killing it all the time in my space capes. And then they just didn't say anything about Uhura, which sucks because she's the only one not mentioned of the main crew. Though, like I said, in the novelization, they do talk about her. I
was reading that Whoopi Goldberg was very upset that Uhura wasn't in this movie because she wanted to have a moment of Guinan and Uhura on screen.
Guinan and Uhura need to have met. It's a crime that didn't happen.
Well, and it's also really important in like Whoopi Goldberg's like trajectory as an actor. Like there's that like apocrypha story of like Whoopi Goldberg as a child watched Star Trek and was like, oh my God, there's a black woman on TV who is in a position of power and isn't like a slave or a maid or whatever. And that was like part of her inspiration to become an actor, which is part of the reason she wanted to be on Star Trek. So it's like, it is a big shame that she never got to have like a scene with Uhura.
Yeah.
So what's our next drinking rule or smoking rule?
I think it's me.
Wow.
Wow, that was a
was
long
a
episode one.
15 of those minutes are going to get into a show.
Yeah, for real. 20 of those are going on to episode 4, almost guaranteed.
Right.
It's going to be a good episode 4 this time. I'm excited.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at NYDUrgency.
And I am on Instagram and Twitter at bsilverio20.
I'm on Twitter at Stella_Cheeks.
I'm on Instagram at The Indecisionist and on Twitter at Indecisionist. This has been an Indecisionist production. Special thanks to Marlon Longett of Marlon and the Shakes for our theme song, and to April Moralba for our podcast art.
And if you want to join in on the conversation, you can use the hashtag #TimeToParty. That's time, the number 2, party.
So until next time, party people, where we will be talking about another time travel movie. Until then, be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes. Air guitar. The last one in space.
In space.